Right now on Retiring Today, we're talking about employee retirement plans.
Federal and state employees, this show's for you. We get questions all the time on IPERS, FERS, and TSP. What you need to know.
How to fit those plans into your overall retirement picture right now on Retiring Today. Welcome to Retiring Today. In this episode, we're focusing on those who work for the government and the employee plans that they get when they work for the government. I'm here with Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. And today, Lauren, we're going to focus on state and federal employees because they have sort of a different plan than the 401k, which is one of the more prevalent plans that we talk about a lot on this show.
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time talking about the employer plans because we receive a lot of questions and we do a lot of planning that involves the employer-sponsored plans. But we also receive a lot of questions and do a lot of planning for these government plans, and we just don't spend a lot of time talking about it. So today, the entire show is committed to these government plans, the nuances, and how you might incorporate them into your overall retirement plan.
Because there are some big differences in the way some of these government plans operate than the 401k or the traditional employer plan.
Very much so. And the corporate pension, which is how 30 years ago most people retired, the corporate pension availability for many people has gone down dramatically. But there's still this segment of the pension, which is the government pensions, that is still widely available. And some of these government pensions are some of the best pensions available to you out there. So now how do you use it to your best advantage to help you on your way to and through retirement?
Okay, so we're talking about FERS, TSP, and IPERS mostly today is what we'll cover?
Yep, those three main topics. And then also Social Security is going to fit into some of these this conversation as well, because some of the pensions will actually decrease the amount you're eligible for with your Social Security benefits. So we're going to weave Social Security into the conversation, but primarily we're going to talk about the TSP, FERS, and IPERS.
Okay, so if you're one of the people watching that has one of these plans, you might be thinking, well, I've heard that they're great because they're a pension. I'm contributing, or it's being contributed for me rather. What else do I need to do? But what we're going to discover today is there's more steps that you can take to really get you to those retirement goals.
Yeah, these are really valuable programs. So let's take IPERS as an example. IPERS is an extremely powerful pension. So sometimes there is this misconception, well, I don't really need to save on my own because I have this really powerful pension. Well, for some people that does work. Is that ideal? And is that the best for most people? Probably not. And even within the IPERS program alone, there is 6 different options you can choose from. And then amongst each one of those 6 options, there are a subchapter or subset of options you can select from as well. So even if IPERS is all you have, there's a lot of challenges just determining what is the best option for you.
And this is all so important because when you get to be a pre-retiree or retiree, that's when you start thinking about using this money for income. And income is one of the things you sit down and talk to families about each day as you kind of employ the Merkle retirement method to help them reach their retirement goals.
And most of these options we're going to talk about are permanent elections, meaning that once you make your election choice, there's no redos. 10 years from now or 12 months from now, you can't say, whoops, made a mistake, let's do it over. So these decisions are amplified because of the permanency of the election.
And Lauren's going to talk about some of the details of each of these plans. First up, we have FERS.
FERS, the Federal Employee Retirement System. The reason we're talking about the FERS system is because there are so many different moving parts, like most of the stuff that we talk about. Except for there's not a lot of planning that takes place with the FERS system. So we're going to go through the FERS system and hopefully we'll be able to identify some of the missing pieces of information a lot of people just don't know about, but more importantly, how you can incorporate this tremendous benefit into your retirement plan. So first, the FERS, the Federal Employee Retirement System. There's 3 main components to this system. First is the annuity component, then the TSP component, and then also Social Security. Let's first focus on the annuity piece. The corporate pensions, this is the pension piece. So the corporate pensions in this country are going away. We know that. All these big companies that historically have had pension plans are getting rid of these pension plans. Just recently this week, there was another major employer that announced they are freezing their corporate pension. So only about 15% of people in America now have a corporate pension. But these government pensions are still thriving. So now it's a matter about how do you use this government pension within your plan to make sure you maximize it and get the most out of it that you possibly can.
And Lauren, you found sometimes that people with these plans feel like they have trouble finding someone to talk to about them.
Yeah, we do. In fact, at our retirement class, it's not an uncommon situation that after the class, somebody comes up to us and asks us, do we do planning with these government plans? Because as they're looking at the advising landscape out there, it's a struggle for them to find somebody who understands the nuances of the plan. And just like when you take Social Security, or just like when you execute on your corporate pension, or any of these other available investment resources or retirement income resources, you need to make sure you're doing the best possible with the resource. So with this pension plan underneath the FERS system, first of all, what are the eligibility requirements? After 5 years of service, you're able to retire and receive a pension payment from the pension part of the plan at the age of 62. After 10 years of service, now there's a minimum retirement date that you can retire at that is much less than 62. Now that retirement date, the minimum retirement date, is dependent upon your age, when you were born. But for everybody, it's somewhere between the age of 55 and 57, again, age dependent, when you were born. But there is a reduction if you retire, let's say you retire at 57, then there's a 5% penalty on what your payment would be every year you retire prior to 62. So if you retire at 57, then that is a 25% penalty or reduction on the pension payment that you would otherwise receive. So if you retire at 62, then you get the full amount that you would have received for that 10 years of service. After 30 years of service, then you get the full amount and you can retire at the minimum retirement date without a reduction. So the pension aspect of this plan works really well if you maximize it in conjunction with the other components of the plan. So the second one is the Thrift Savings Plan, or the TSP. And we get a lot of questions on this because it's like a 401k plan. 401k plans are designed to be easy as far as contributing to. The TSP plan works the same way, designed easily to contribute to, but now it's all how do you use the investment options underneath of it? What do these codes mean? Molly, I'll show you what these codes mean. So this is the TSP plan.
Kind of complicated.
If you're invested in the TSP plan, you get a statement or you get an election form that says you can invest in the G fund, you can invest in the F fund, the C, the S, the I, or the L fund. Now the first question is the real obvious question: what does all of that really mean? So the G fund is the one fund of all of the options that your principal is guaranteed, which means your principal on this fund is the only one that can't go down. All it can do is go up. The question we don't know, or we can't answer, is by how much is it going to go up by? It's guaranteed, it's invested in government type securities, investments. That's how they can guarantee your principal. The F fund is the fixed fund, and this is where there's a lot of confusion between the F and the G. Because the G is the government securities, guaranteed principal. The F says fixed.
Sounds like the same thing.
So by description, a lot of people feel like this is guaranteed as well, where it's not. You can actually lose on the fixed fund. Now it's invested very conservatively, so even if it goes down, it should not go down by a lot, but there's no guarantee, right? So it can fluctuate quite a bit, but typically it does not. And then the C is for the common stock. The S is for small cap, and then the I is for international. So it's these three right here that are primarily all stock. So if you're looking at your TSP statement and you have the C fund, the S fund, the I fund without any of the F or the G, now you know you're invested primarily in all stock. And that could be concerning for a lot of people. And then the L fund. And this is one of the newer options underneath the TSP. And this is those lifetime funds. So it's a 2020, 2030s. As we approach that time frame, your investment will become gradually more conservative. So this is more that hands-off approach. Put your money in it. As we get closer to 2030 or 2020, it's going to gradually get more conservative.
And are these the kinds of things that you might sign up for one thing when you first are starting your employment years in your 20s, but as you get closer to pre-retirement, do you get to change how you allocate this?
Yes, you can make changes to this anytime you want to, but I'm glad you brought that up, because if you do not make an election as you enter the TSP, your default election is the G fund. So if that doesn't fit your retirement goals, if it doesn't fit your risk tolerance, that's not where you want to be. So you need to be intentional with your elections, just like you would a 401k plan or any other type of investment that you do have. So again, we just need to be intentional with it, incorporate this as a part of the plan, and understand what these different codes mean, because it will impact what it is you receive from return. And when this next recession hits, how you're invested will impact how much you lose as well.
And there's some new rules about how you can withdraw this money, because the important thing is investing and then making it income in retirement.
Yeah, this is really cool, because as of September 15th of 2019, these new rules go into effect. And what these new rules do is it gives you more options on what you can do with your TSP fund. So one of them, and this is a big one, one of the new rules is now the in-service 59.5 withdrawal privileges are extended to 4 times. It used to be once you're 59.5, even though you're still working and contributing to the TSP, you had 1 lifetime withdrawal opportunity. Now you can do it up to 4 times. And what's the benefit of that? Once you're over age 59.5, you can take money from the TSP, roll it over with no tax consequence to your name, your control, your IRA, and now you're not just limited to the L funds or the C funds or the S or the I. You have a whole universe of investment options you can select from, and the key is you have the control. The other change is now you can take monthly, quarterly, or annual payments. So now you're retired and you chose to leave your money underneath the TSP. Before, you only had the option to take those payments monthly. And if you wanted to change your payment options, you could only do it in October. So now you can do it monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually, and you can change it at any point throughout the course of the year. So with all of these options, you can see how quickly this can get confusing, and this is just on the surface. This is just on the surface. So one thing we haven't talked about yet is, how does Social Security come into this? And this is where the windfall elimination provision comes into play. And we get questions on this all the time, because somebody has a pension plan from a provider that they don't have to, the employee doesn't have to pay into Social Security. So this pension plan is basically taking the place of Social Security. And in this example, I use my brother. He's a firefighter in Cedar Rapids. He does not pay into Social Security through his fighter job, because he has a pension that doesn't require that. It's in place of Social Security. But most firefighters are not going to work until 70 firefighting, right? They can't. So they're going to have other jobs, and a lot of firefighters have side jobs where they do pay Social Security. So what this does is it says, let's not double dip, right? This is a government provision saying we're not going to let you double dip too much into Social Security and your government pension. So they decrease the amount that you would get from Social Security based on a calculation. Now, one of the things with this is, after 30 years of paying into Social Security, even if you have this other government pension, this windfall elimination provision goes away. And it decreases or diminishes from years 20 through 30. But this is a calculation that you need to conduct. The thing is on your Social Security statement, you will not see this reflected on the Social Security statement. So what happens is you elect your benefits, and then the administration will tell you what the decreased payment is from Social Security.
So it's a good thing to know going into
It's
retirement.
a very good
Free
thing.
retirees need to really take note of this.
That's right, and we can do that calculation to help determine what that decrease would be.
Okay, some great information about FERS. Lauren will continue talking about employee plans, specifically IPERS, when Retiring Today continues.
Are you overwhelmed by planning for retirement? Are you currently retired and looking to maximize your retirement savings? Not sure where to begin? Join us for our complimentary Passport to Retirement class. You'll learn how to maximize your Social Security benefits, save money on taxes, and leave a legacy that lasts for generations. Spots are limited and classes fill quickly. Call us today at Merkle Retirement Planning.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. State and federal employees, this episode is for you. We're going over the retirement plans that you have available to you, some of the nuances, and how to fit them into a successful retirement plan. I'm here with Lauren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. And Lauren, in the first segment, I think you did a really good job of talking about FERS, the federal employee plan, and some of the nuances. But I found myself wondering, if I was a federal employee and I have a chance to elect or re-elect or change some of my allocations, can I physically bring those papers in and look at them with a retirement plan? I mean, is that a good thing to do?
That should be one of the big value adds that a retirement planner should offer you if you have these benefits available to you. But I think it's also important to understand that just like if you have Social Security, or just like if you have a 401k or 403b or the IPERS that we're going to be talking about, these should not be standalone decisions. So yes, you have a piece of paper, you need to make some election decisions with the piece of paper, but then now incorporate those decisions, those benefit election options, with all the other retirement resources that you have to make sure you're doing the best with everything. But when it comes time to actual election time, and you have that physical piece of paper, yes, it can be confusing. There's a lot to those election options. Make sure it jives with everything else that you're doing from a retirement standpoint as well.
Also thinking, if you made those elections, when you first started employment, maybe in your 20s, it might not hurt to sit down with a professional and look at the elections you made then and see if you need to change anything as you head closer to retirement.
Yeah, there's really three main phases to these benefits. We have the very first, when you can first start into these programs, right? And you need to make some election changes or election options with your TSP plan or the 403b plans. And then we have the maintenance phase, where now you're already in it, you're contributing, or you have contributions going on your behalf. You need to make changes as you go. And then there's the final, or the retirement type of phase, where now you make your elections on how you're going to start receiving these different resources, whether it's from the TSP that you've been saving in, or the annuity or the pension program that has been contributed to on your behalf.
So IPERS, we're going to talk about that next. We know that over 300,000 people in the state of Iowa are covered under this employee retirement savings plan. So what are some of the important things that those with IPERS need to know as they head towards retirement?
This is a massive program. It's a massive pension, and an incredibly valuable pension for most retirees. So when it comes time to electing the IPERS benefit, as I mentioned in the last segment, you have 6 options. And then under those options, there's a subset of options that you can elect from. And you need to incorporate those different options into the other resources that you have. But first, let's talk a little bit about the eligibility requirements. With the IPERS, it's contributed to on your behalf. You do have a small portion of contributions that come out of your pay as well. But predominantly, most of it is put into put in there by your employer, which would be the government, the city, the state, whatever it is. And then after 7 years, you are eligible for the first vesting, which means you're eligible to receive some benefit. If you work for that employer for 7 years, you retire, you quit, you transfer, now you are eligible to receive some benefits from IPERS. But then there's these other rules. These other rules as far as when can you retire or change employers, a non-IPER employer, and receive your full IPERS payment. And a lot of you out there have probably heard of these rules, but maybe you just don't know how they apply to you. The first rule is the rule of 88.
I've heard my mom talk about this one. She hit her rule of 88 recently and retired.
Yeah, and she was really happy, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
And then she retired. Because she was able to retire without any reduction on her IPERS benefit. And what that means is if your age plus the years of service in an IPERS qualified program equal 88, then you don't get a reduced benefit. You get the full benefit. So as long as your years of service and age equal 88 or greater, then you're good. And then the other rule is the rule of 62-20, which means if you have 20 years of service and you've obtained the age of 62, then you also do not get a reduction. And then the third one is really easy. If you're 65, then you're eligible for your IPERS without a reduction. So there's the 3 rules of not getting a reduction. There's the vesting schedule rules of at least 7 years. And then there's the options, all the income options that you have once you're eligible or want to start taking the income, of how you're going to receive this guaranteed lifetime income that's going to be so important to you to deliver the longevity you require in retirement.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the 403B. What's important for those heading towards retirement to know about that?
So a lot of people, especially teachers who have IPERS, they also have the ability to contribute on their own to a 403B program. So the 403B program is very similar to one's 401k. So those who are involved in a corporation offer 401k, it's very similar. So they can contribute up to $19,000 or $26,000 depending upon their age per year, and they can go pre-tax. Some may offer a Roth type of contribution, but the majority of them are pre-tax, and it can just save for the course of their retirement. And when they do retire, now they have the opportunity to take an income from the 403B plan, or they can roll it over to their name, their control underneath the IRA. So it works in conjunction with IPERS. The IPERS is the pension, and then the 403B plan is their savings vehicle that they can accumulate, that have all this liquidity and can provide supplemental income in retirement.
So teachers do pay into Social Security while they're working, unlike federal employees.
Unlike some other employees, teachers do pay into Social Security, which means that they will have IPERS, they will have 403B plan, and then they should also be eligible for Social Security as well. And the cool part, remember we were talking about the windfall elimination provision on some of the pensions, where it would reduce Social Security benefits. That does not apply to the IPERS and the 403B. So your Social Security payments will not be negatively impacted by the income you receive from those. And then the IPERS income you receive, as well as any distributions you take from your 403B plan, will not qualify for the earned income limit of Social Security. So the earned income limit of Social Security means that if you're below full retirement age, so anywhere between 62 to 67 for many people, or 62 to 66 for a lot of other people, then you can't make more than $18,000 a year of earned income. Otherwise, your Social Security payments will be reduced. So the income you're receiving from IPERS or your 403B will not go into that equation to determine whether or not your Social Security benefits will be reduced.
Right, so we are going to go to our Ask the Advisor segment now. We've got a question from Ankeny. It's Sam in Ankeny. Sam wants to know, if I have income coming in monthly from IPERS and Social Security, and I have to take RMDs, what options do I have to reduce my tax bracket? Lauren will answer that question and more when Retiring Today continues.
Are you overwhelmed by planning for retirement? Are you currently retired and looking to maximize your retirement savings? Not sure where to begin? Join us for our complimentary Passport to Retirement class. You'll learn how to maximize your Social Security benefits, save money on taxes, and leave a legacy that lasts for generations. Spots are limited and classes fill quickly. Call us today at Merkle Retirement Planning.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. In this episode, we're talking to state and federal employees, specifically about the plans available to you. So Sam in Ankeny had this question. It's up on your screen right now. Sam wants to know, if I have income coming in monthly from IPERS and Social Security, and I have to take RMDs, what options do I have to reduce my tax bracket? Lauren Merkle is a certified financial planner, and Lauren, tax planning is a big piece of a successful retirement. If you can mitigate or look ahead at taxes, it's very important to achieve your retirement goals. So what would you say to Sam?
Sam, I absolutely love this question. First of all, we're talking about tax planning, which is pretty cool because it's all about how much you get to spend, how much you keep, not what you make. And I would say, Sam, you're already taking Social Security, and you're over 70 and a half, so you have to take your required minimum distributions. The tax planning you're going to incorporate right now may not save you a lot of taxes today. In fact, it might actually cost you a little bit more in taxes today, but it could save you a whole bunch of taxes for the next year or the year after, or even 5 years down the road. So if you're in a position like Sam, and this is one of the things, Molly, we hear all the time is, I'm over 70 and a half, I have to take these required minimum distributions, I can't control it anymore, so it's out of my hands. That's not necessarily the case. And Sam, you may not be in that position either. You might have some opportunities to save taxes down the road if you employ the tax planning strategies. However, if you're not yet in Sam's position, meaning you're under 70 and a half, you're not mandated to take distributions, now it's up to you to implement strategies to lessen the consequence of the RMD once you're 70 and a half, and it all comes down to the tax planning. So are there some strategies? Yes, but it may actually cost you a little bit more this year, but it could save you a bunch down the road.
Well, and Sam might be saying, how do I implement these strategies? Because you said you, but really it's probably with the help of a professional, which can be a retirement planner, sometimes a CPA. And people might be saying, well, where do I get started with all this, thinking about the taxes and thinking long term? And a good place is the classes that you teach all the time. Taxes are a big part of the retirement classes.
We spend probably, in our retirement class, we spend probably anywhere between 20 to 35 minutes just on taxes. In fact, we have a class rolling out in the next couple of months. The entire class is going to be on taxes. That's how cool taxes are.
Lauren is one of the few people that I know that gets really excited about taxes, but when he says that it's more about putting more money in people's hands and more money for retirement, it really is important.
Yeah, taxes we can't necessarily avoid altogether. We're going to pay taxes. We should pay taxes. We all need to pay taxes. Now it's just a matter of at what level do we pay. And again, you saved this money for how long? 30 years? 40 years, you've been very diligent, you've sacrificed, you've been disciplined, and now it's a matter of how do you make sure all of your resources last for you in the best way possible for you for as long as you're in retirement, and once you're done with retirement, how do you pass it on to your kids or the next generation or wherever you want that money to go? And it's all about mitigating the impact of taxes.
So those retirement classes that Lauren mentioned, there's some resources on your screen right now. There's a website where you can go to sign up, see when the dates are, see what specific classes might interest you. And there's also a number on your screen right now. You can text that number. Just text retirement classes, and a member of the Merkle retirement planning team will reach out to you to get you signed up for the free classes. And Lauren, in 30 seconds, also let people know about a few of the other things. So we talked about tax planning. We've talked about income. That's what the whole show has been on today for federal and state employees. But there are 3 other pieces that you'll talk about the classes.
Well, the healthcare long-term care market is a really big risk for a lot of people and very expensive. So we talk about that quite a bit. The investment planning piece, and then the final piece is the legacy planning piece. How do you transfer what's left in the best way to the next generation?
And those are all of the things that we'll continue to talk about on this show. It's Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.
Are you overwhelmed by planning for retirement? Are you currently retired and looking to maximize your retirement savings? Not sure where to begin? Join us for our complimentary Passport to Retirement class. You'll learn how to maximize your Social Security benefits, save money on taxes, and leave a legacy that lasts for generations. Spots are limited and classes fill quickly. Call us today at Merkle Retirement Planning.
From our family to yours, we hope you have a wonderful weekend. We hope you enjoy the show. We'll see you next week.